And we are live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds. I'm Nerdarchist Ted, and today I'm joined by
Nathan Nerdarch.
And as you can see, we are without Dave.
And currently without an intern.
So we're going to wing this as best as possible. So thanks for tuning in and hanging out with Nate and I for an hour or so.
Just get into the chat. We've got people.
We got people. We got verification that we're actually there and what have you.
They're talking.
Oh, great. So, as always, the links for everything that we've done over the past week is down below. We have the website, the YouTube channel, or even RPG-related Kickstarters that I've found and think you guys might have an interest in. So, first off, let's deal with our thank yous. So, thank you to Easy Roller Dice. Thank you to Armor Class 10. Thank you .com. And thank you to Open Legend RPG for being our continued sponsors on our other videos.
Yes, and thank you to all the Patreon supporters. We really appreciate all of your support and your pledges.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to do what we do without you guys. And then last but not least, thank you to all of our guests on our chats, our live chats last week. On Monday, we had Scott from Chartopia. Tuesday, we had Anthony Amato from Cardboard Fortress. And on Wednesday, we had the fine folks of Absolute Tabletop. Thursday, we kind of had a flub. There was a bit of a miscommunication with our guest, and he thought that it was going to be at 3 o'clock, not noon. So it was just Dave and I. And then Friday was yet another issue of our Open Legend game, which I'm having a blast with.
But that did actually happen.
Yes. Yeah,
because I watched it. I remember it.
yeah. Dave and I just chatted on Thursday, just to shoot the shit, so to speak, and we just kind of did what we did. But speaking of live chats, next week we are going to have Take Two. Hopefully, Satine Phoenix will actually be on this time. Tuesday, we are going to have Mel from Wayward Leather Designs. I'll show you what some of her stuff is, as well as on Wednesday, we're going to have Jeff Mock from Jeff Mock Events. You've heard me talking about Dark Side of the Con, Steampunk World's Fair, Glimmer Dark, previously of Wicked Fair. He's the man behind all of that. So Thursday, we're going to have a gameplay run by Comic Book University. That's going to be the old Marvel Phase Rip. Talking off air with some of the players. Some people are really excited about getting into this old system. And then Friday, as always, will be our Open Legend game. So yeah, fun.
Yeah, a packed full week.
You guys have seen the little monster box that we've shown before. You've seen my monster bag, as well as you may or may not have seen my awesome dragon bracers, and I've got even a new one. So these are all the stuff made by Mel of Wayward Leather. Her dragon scale printing is something that I don't know if she's got it copyrighted or not. We can ask her on Tuesday, but this is her unique thing that she does. Had these things for some of them for years now, and they're just awesome stuff. So we can get into whatever kind of fun discussions with her and whatnot on Tuesday.
We have your upcoming game.
We do. Actually, there's a lot of gaming that's going to be happening on the Nerdarchy channel this week. So pretty much Wednesday night is going to be the Scarlet Sisterhood, and there's even a new player that joined this past week. So looking forward to session 14. I'm actually almost caught up. I finished session 11 yesterday. Thursday, as I said, will be the Phase Rip game. Friday will be the Open Legend game. But then also Friday night will be my game with the fans. I had to actually reach out to our awesome patrons and nailed down three players to finish off my 5 for that game. So looking forward to that.
What's the theme of that game?
I'm still in the air. There's
a surprise.
Usually I've got a good idea going. This time I'm stuck between a couple ideas, and then Dave threw in some extra muck into the decision because it's like, oh, why don't you run the Frozen Throne thing that the Absolute Tabletop guys put out there. And I'm like, oh man, now I got 3 choices. What do I do?
Can the Frozen Throne be run that fast? I'm not exactly sure how long it is.
It's an adventure kit, so you can literally take the pieces
that's right.
and assemble what you want to do with it. So it's really cool. I had kind of done the same design style when I was this was probably over a year ago when I was coming up with my swamp adventure. It's like, oh, you've got all these different options. How do you want to put it together?
Yeah,
and they're more skilled writers than I am, so they, of course, did it better.
Well, there was a nice proof of concept. They did quite well on their Kickstarter so far. And it's still going. So,
absolutely. So, how many people we got over there now that we've actually got an intern?
It looks like we have 22 viewers on right now.
All right, great,
awesome.
And Eridos has a question for you guys.
Okay.
He says he loves the Dark Sun and Eberron videos. Do you have any plans to keep doing more settings?
Well, we're trucking through for Eberron. We're actually going to do some more Dark Sun stuff in the near future. I'm not certain. We don't have anything in the works, so I'm thinking we could eventually try to do the same thing with Planescape because of how awesome that is. But beyond that, I don't know where else I feel comfortable enough that 5th edition would absolutely need to have. So you guys let me know in the comments, what other settings would you like to see us do that series of videos on? Okay.
It's going to take a while. There's a delay.
What? They can't just instantly respond?
The internet is supposedly instantaneous.
Well, no,
nigh instantaneous.
We're several second delay, and then they actually need to hear it, think about the question, respond.
That's true.
Doug has a great suggestion for Spelljammer.
I would like to do Spelljammer.
I don't know enough about Spelljammer, whether there's like I understand its setting, but I don't know whether whether the setting has its own unique thing. I thought it was just like, okay, well, invent worlds and explore the stars.
It's not just D&D in space, like we like to joke about it. But you can play it as just D&D in space.
No, I enjoy the concept of it, but I really don't personally know anything about what Spelljammer is beyond just traveling through the stars.
We'll teach you. We'll go over it. I'd like to do Spelljammer, so it'll be in the mix somewhere. But it takes what, like 5 to 10 weeks to go through a series. So you've got a while before the next series after Dark Sun.
Well, yeah. I mean, we're barely trucking through Eberron, and we're going to record our second of 11 videos on Dark Sun after the live chat today. So yeah, that's going to take some time to get through because we don't want to just bombard you guys with lots of videos. We're going to spend an entire week talking about nothing but Dark Sun.
Yeah. Some people will be okay with that, but a majority, I think, would like a little bit of drip feed on the different settings.
Just because Dark Sun is so alien to a lot of people. I mean, how long did we play where Psionics just wasn't really a thing? That's like, okay, well, now you have a world where Psionics is the major thing. Not everybody's ready to, and prepared to just dive head first and something like that.
Some people might also not be prepared with the idea that they most likely will lose a character.
Well, and we'll talk more about that later today.
Yes. So, okay. Speaking of campaign settings, I want to talk about stuff right now. I am rolling out pay-to-play gameplays, and I'm interested in getting people. So if you are interested, it is NateTheNerdarch@gmail.com. And I've got 3 in the running right now. One is the Claw of the Thorcreen, which is on the edge of a giant chaos storm in the world of
Chimes of Discordia.
Yeah, Chimes of
Discordia is the world.
That's the working title I've got right now.
Now, is that on the continent of Volcania, or is that elsewhere?
I like to put distance between myself and Gryffindor just simply because I don't really want to have to deal with everything going on. And it's like they've got D&D. Dave and Ted both are dealing with, going over top of the different plots and things going on. So I think a third person in the mix would be kind of crazy. So I'd like to just have my own thing off on the side kind of, okay, it gives me like 100% writing freedom, but it also makes me not have to worry about everything else going on in their little tiny corner of the world. So if I have to, I'll put a sea in between. But for right now, it's like on the far-flung eastern side of the continent that Griffin-Gaff resides in. And the Torkreen Empire was a millennial-old empire that was destroyed by one of the Chaos Storms. And then there's these different things happening within the Chaos Storm, like Rabbit Thrycreen and crystalline Nothics and other things like that. And it is like a little tiny slice of Dark Sun in the world. There's lots of psionics. In fact, the Claw is a 3-tiered tower that was the original residence of the Torkreen, which are Thrycreen ancestors. They're kind of like they're less feral, more intelligent, more civilized version of Thrycreen. And they had a vast expanse of empire that was obliterated when the Chaos Storms appeared. And that kind of like the adventure kind of starts in the Claw, and there's different things going off into the waste and dealing with things. And the Claws are kind of there to prevent the Chaos Storm from moving out and destroying the rest of it. So it's like the scions of the world that are there are kind of gatekeepers for that region to like protecting that region from the effects of the Chaos Storm because of its massive size and its damaging qualities. So that's one of them. The other one is something that happens very close by, and the Mountains of the Mordanes, which is like really like more of a classic D&D setting, classic for 5th edition anyway. That's another thing. For the Claw of Torkreen, we're going with more of like gritty, harder hitting things. Everything's got some kind of sonic nastiness with it. So it is kind of like a slice of Dark Sun. And you're in a desert region with a lot of hazardous terrain and things. So just wanted to state that before I move back on. And the other one is the more classic, like straight out of the box D&D 5e, with the additions of the Unearthed Arcana stuff. But it's going to be the Mountains of Mordane, which is the Mordanes are a group of dwarves that made magic items and mighty things, but they haven't been really interacted with in 500 years. They stopped talking. And then so the mystery is like, well, stuff's going on around the mountains, but no one's really seen or heard from the dwarves in a very long time in living memory for anybody that's not an elf, pretty much. It's just like, oh, the Mordane dwarves, right? They were a thing and not just a legend or something. So to the people around the area in Stationton and Azoria, it's just, that's what they are. They're a myth and legend. So there's different strange things going on that have to be investigated. And the third one is dealing with more of like a puzzle mystery game where you are off on an island, the Ageless Isle, and that is off somewhere in the seas of, we don't even have the seas named. I'll name the seas by the time the thing is. But the third one is an Ageless Isle, and it's a survival game as well as kind of, if everyone's played the PC game Myst or like Seventh Guest, it kind of gives you that kind of puzzle and strangeness feel to it, and you're trying to discover how to get off the island, what is the island actually about, and what is there, and if you can actually live or if everything's going to kill you. And that deals more with, I'm going to have the madness mechanic in that, as well as a little bit of like preferred sonics and wizardry kind of thing going on with that. And that's the third one.
Well, everybody loves a little bit of madness and insanity. So
yeah. So that's the 3 major campaigns I would like to start in the pay-to-play. And I'm also interested in doing some one-shots, but pretty much just email me if you're interested, and I'll get the information to you.
Now, we'll state that Nate is doing this as pay-to-play because he wants to get away from his actual job that he's working and be able to devote more time to Nerdarchy. So by getting in on these type of things, it's supporting Nerdarchy growing because Nate will be focusing on games and other Nerdarchy related stuff as opposed to his regular job.
Yeah, I got to get it basically supplementing the part-time job I have currently, getting rid of it, cutting it away, and then devoting more and more of my time to Nerdarchy.
Because we want Nerdarchy to grow.
Yes.
All right, that was a little weird.
So we go say full-time professional nerds is what we would all like to be.
Indeed.
Dave is already living the dream.
Dave is living the dream. Whether he wants to say he's living the dream or
The
not.
80 hours of work a week dream. But he's doing an excellent job being the first full-time nerd out of the group of us.
I think so. I think he's brought a lot to the table.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Nordic Dragon 89 wants to know, why do you like psionics?
Why do I like it?
Nate is very cerebral, and it's all in the mind. And like, I think part of Nate would love to just be able to lie there and think about things, and they just happen. And that's what scions actually have the ability to do. So I think that's why.
They're living my dream, being able to do all that crazy power stuff. Yeah, so I was, I've always been more into back when I started, it was the Vancian magic system pretty much. And I never jived with it. I like the idea of if you have a power, if you have the ability to do something supernatural, as long as you're not exhausted, you should be able to do it. So psionics spoke to me first mechanically, and on the mechanical end, it just made more sense in the game, from the rules of the game, to be more of like an actual superpower. And then it could be psionics. I feel like it could be sci-fi fantasy, but it could also be superheroes. And I was totally into comics and superheroes when I was younger, and I like the idea, like the mentalist powers, being able to see the future, like all those kinds of cool things that. Rather than like swords and dragons, I like Ted's saying, I was more into like the mental kind of ideas of like, oh, you're using your intellect to solve problems, and your mind is what projects you into being a power in the world. So I enjoyed just that philosophically as well as game theory. I enjoy that better than magic or swords.
And if you go back to second edition, where I think we kind of really got started with D&D, the psionic system was a lot more freeform than it is now. You literally got to choose anything within the rule set as your powers, and then you had this pool of points, and everything had this is what it costs to use it. So you might have a pool of 80 points, but this thing costs 40 to use. Well, some scions might not want to take that until much later, because they're only going to get to do it twice. Where I was like, screw that, I want this now, and I'm going to use this twice a day because that's what I can do.
Yeah, I want to be the single shot or dual shot pistol.
And
that's it.
While magic had its options, psionics really had all the options that wizards could do, and then more so, in my opinion. I don't know if you agree with that.
It had different types of stuff. You were never launching fireballs, but you could make someone burst into flames. So I mean, and they were most likely going to do it if you sat there long enough and thought hard enough.
I love the power called animal affinity. You basically chose an animal, and you got to absorb, their kind, or not absorb, but you got to manipulate your body into that creature's power. So like, I had a Duragar who had an affinity towards a scorpion, so he would grow scorpion pincers and a scorpion tail, so I would be able to make my attacks with those as opposed to just some boring melee weapon.
And with since we're talking about second edition, and I like the wild talents ability as well, where everyone had a chance, but that kind of made it it's like rolling 00 on your strength. If you guys are from second edition, it was awesome to get the 00, but it was really insane to actually get it. So it's kind of not going to really happen. But when it did, it kind of could be on game balancing, because you already rolled an 18 and now you rolled the 1 out of 100 chance. So you've got this ridiculous strength, and no one else in the game is going to have that. So same thing with having a wild talent that's really ridiculously powerful. It just didn't work out. But okay, so for third edition, for psionics, it kind of felt like it took the magic out of it for me. That's kind of a weird statement to say about psionics, but it made it too formulaic. I love some of the things they added, like side crystals and little crystal gem thingies that you could do different stuff with. But again, there was a lot of things about 3 and 3.5 that I didn't like. They just made it too formulaic, and it kind of like they took the zing out of it for me. Well, but fifth edition, I feel like, has put the zing back in.
Third edition, it really took that balancing factor, and it actually gave you, all right, well, you've got levels of things, but it very neutered a lot of the powers, and it took away, well, psionics is overpowered and brought it down to balance, which a lot of people did like. but it made the changes so that people like Nate were fascinated with it. It's like, well, the air of superiority and power of it is
all they remember is disintegration rays and detonates. What I didn't like about 3 and 3.5 with Psionics was that it balanced it by making it gray. That's what it did. It balanced it by making it gray. It was no longer stark contrasts in colors. They just said, no offense to the guys who made it, but 3 and 3.5, I just felt it was like, yeah, this is too over the edge on what we want to do, so let's just dump a whole bunch of gray paint on it. There, it's fine, it's balanced. No one's going to say it's black or white. That's what I felt like. It's like, we have succeeded. No one's going to say this is not gray. So that's what I didn't like about 3 and 3.5. I don't really care. Disintegration and Detonate were cool to have at earlier levels, but they were also, pretty much that's all you were doing, and then you're going to have to like shoot darts at people or something.
Well, 5th edition really did bring it back, and when you look at the Mystic class, it is completely and utterly unique to the other classes that are out there, and you build in a way that you have the more 2nd edition feel, where you have a set of powers and it's up to you as to how much you want to use them. Oh, well, you could spend 7 points on this and really jack that creature up over the next couple of rounds. Or, you can just spend the 1 and be able to do this for lots of combat. So the variability and usability of choice, I think, is really back.
I would agree, as well as the kind of mystique about what the powers are, and like it's balanced, but it's not boring, flat, and gray.
I think the options are back. I think the choice is back. I dig it.
Yeah. So that's why I like Psionics and what I didn't like about it.
Very, very long-winded answer, but yeah.
And that's my view on Psionics. So when I say I'm going to put Psionics in my game for that the Claw of the Torqueen, that's like my view of what Psionics is. So.
Very cool.
Any other questions pop up from
Doug Viavek wants to know, have either of you had a chance to play Mystic for 5e?
I had access to a Mystic. I really couldn't say I really played one, because it was in the super ultra powered 40th level game that it was like a 2-hour session, and it's like, how quickly can I burn through all of my points? When it's like, all right.
Yeah, it's a fast session.
And it was literally, you show up, there's 3 monsters to fight, burn through all of your stuff. So I don't really know what it's like to go through a regular session. This was a lengthy battle.
In our modern game where we played ourselves, I played a Mystic. So I liked it, but the problem with the modern game wasn't a good intro. First off, it was the first run of like when you only had 5 levels of Mystic, and second, the other issue was you had modern weapons. So I mean, as soon as I got a hold of a grenade, I was like, I want 1,000 of these. So
why on earth would I use this sword when I could use a gun?
Why would I use anything else except this grenade? Oh, and I better put on armor that I can handle getting hit with a grenade from. Yeah, so that was the problem with modern, is once you start using guns and assault rifles and grenades, the psionic powers are just kind of a little. I mean, almost everything else except the wizard is not going to just deal. Everybody else doesn't deal as much firepower. So I would say I haven't had a like 1 through 20 level run of the Mystic, but between all the gaming experience and running and playing in 5th edition and building characters, and having a bit of an experience actually playing the Mystic, I feel like we have a good informed decision on what we think about the 5th edition Mystic.
Yeah, I agree. So have we gained in watchers?
Yes, we're slowly going up. I
Good.
think people are just adjusting to that weird time slot we're at.
Yeah, we tried. Sorry, we tried to put it everywhere that we could think of to let everybody know.
The problem was that we initially had a game planned for this afternoon, and once that game fell apart, there were all these other options that entered into Nate and I's schedule. Dave had something else going on, which is why he's not here. And as much as we love you guys, our families every once in a while do kind of crave our attention and want us to do things with them. So it's like, well, we could still do the chat if we bump it down to noon. We'd be able to hang out with you awesome people and still be able to, spend some time with our families.
Yeah, the weekends when the time I get to see my family, even though I'm staying home dad during the day and I work at night, I see my wife for like a half hour max in between those times. And so the weekends, the time to hang out with her. So once we figured out we were doing this club, I was like, all right, I've already scheduled a date. It's happening at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, we've got a couple of things that our family's planning to do today as well. So it's like, well, let's see if we can make that happen.
Yeah, so between Dave not being here and other things shuffling around, it just made more sense to have it at noon.
So thank you guys for hanging out with us at the change time slot. Thank you for accepting the change time slot. But normally, yes, whenever possible, our goal is to do it at 2. But having it at 12 does give our overseas people a chance to get in on it as well. So hoping that some of them are out there.
While you're at it, Kyle, would you mind putting in my email as it's spelled out, so that it's, because
Sure.
some people spell my name and at the end is ARC and that's it,
As opposed to NARCH.
Yeah. Just like Nerdarchists is kind of like a playoff of Anarchist,
Right.
like Nerdarch is a playoff of like Nerdarchy as in monarchy, and the Nerdarch is like a playoff of monarch. In a way. That's not the complete reason. I didn't reveal anything. It's just simply spelled like that.
NateTheNerdarch@gmail.com.
Yeah, it's with the H. Right. All right, good.
Wow.
Just for those who don't know how to spell a made-up word.
You understand that we play with a lot of things that all deals with made up and make believe.
Yeah. So it's good to pronounce it and spell it for people. I mean, how now, Drow Cow?
I don't know. We've met people who prefer to call it Dro.
Yeah, exactly.
Ridiculous.
Well, I mean, once you make the cow thing, cow drow, I'm like, oh, well, maybe I wouldn't mind calling it drow.
I don't know.
Tiefling, tiefling, potato.
There's some words that are like, no, I refuse to do it. Tiefling and tiefling, that to me is interchangeable. They mean the same thing. I use them both. I've literally used them, said it both ways over the course of a single paragraph. But then there's things like Drizzt, where R.A. Salvatore has come out and said, no, it's Drizzt. And I'm like, no, it's not. I will argue with the author over it. That's how stubborn I can get.
That's his level of dedication. And melee and then melee.
Yeah. And that's another one. I use both of them.
Let's just blame Dave. He's not here. We blame you for a mispronunciation of things.
Well, I will absolutely blame Dave for Drizzt, because he's like, all right, have you read the Drizzt novels? And he's gone over to RA's side. He's like, oh, well, the author says it's this. I'm like, but it's Drizzt. It's phonetically spelled in the one book.
That's a child doing it. Doesn't count.
So Gallifrey wants to know, what is your
Wait,
least
is it Gallifrey with numbers?
No, it's just Gallifrey.
What?
Just
It's not
Gallifrey.
896753009.
Nope. So Gallifrey wants to know, what is your least favorite kind of player to DM for? His own answer was rules lawyer. We also have people saying like greedy characters.
The antagonist, the one who wants to fight with anyone and everyone. If you're gonna cause a problem at the table, be it in character or out of character, I have no desire to have that at the table. I don't have a problem with a rules lawyer, because 5th edition has perfectly spelled out to me. I'm in control. If I say this is what the rules calling is, it's what it is. You can argue with me all you want, but when I'm behind that DM screen, I don't care if it says on page 37 that you're allowed to do that power. If it doesn't work for me right now and I've got a reason for it, it doesn't work. Sorry.
Well, I would say I don't like the argumentative person. If a person's really nice, or they can't play their first character in a game with a whole bunch of people they don't know, if they're like new to the table, and play that pain in the ass character that's just a jerk. because you're just like, well, is this person a jerk in real life and they're just like letting it all hang out, or is this person just want to play, has a compelling reason to play that type of character, and they're not like that, and you can't tell when that's the first that's your first exposure to this person,
right?
So I mean, I don't mind an antagonist if that's their persona for the character. I do mind having a antagonist that is them. It's like they're just playing themselves.
Well, I don't care what the reasoning is. If you're going to come to the table and you want to argue and take away from everyone's enjoyment, you don't belong at the table.
Oh yeah, if it gets to that point, there's a certain issue with
Like,
reducing everybody else's fun to an extent is bad as well.
The idea behind this game is for everyone to sit down and have fun. And actually, not just this game, but any social gathering is typically so that everyone enjoys it. And if you are literally bringing the enjoyment level down, you are taking away from other people's fun, for your own enjoyment. That ain't cool.
Yeah, and there's other ways to enjoy playing characters as well. So it's like, there are other things to do besides aggravate everybody else.
Now, if you're going to like talk to the group and talk to the DM, and you're going to manipulate this session into, okay, well, I've got this great idea for a character. I want to do this. This is gonna be the story arc. It's going to build up to this, and everybody's on board, or the DM secretly knows that there's a character working against the party, and it comes to a head at one or two sessions where it's like, oh man, this happened or that happened, and people have good stories, but that character usually dies or runs away. Great, you bring somebody else in and you go back to playing a normal character. I have no problem with those kind of things. My friend Will, who lives up in Maine now, he played a character that he worked against the party for an entire campaign, and when he left New Jersey to go to Maine, his last session was his plot was revealed. And he walked away in handcuffs with the party trying to defend him. And he's like, "No, dude, this is legit. This has got to happen."
I'm absolutely guilty.
Yeah, and he said that, and the party was ready to throw down on the side. It was
like,
great.
we'll fight the constable. We'll fight the town guard.
Yeah, and then when Dave ran the Blood Hunters or Demon Hunters game with you, me, Ryan, and Ty, we got to the end. Spoiler alert. And Ty, was like, "Oh, dude, I'm totally a bad guy." And he turned on us, and it would have actually really gone bad had we played at a table where we could move miniatures around, because my dude was like super slow, and I was the one that actually dropped Ty. But if Ty manipulated the battlefield better, there was no way I could have hurt him. It just wouldn't happen.
Yeah, we barely made it out of that game.
So it was amusing. I'm certain that I think Ty felt bad for us. He's like, I know I can win, but I want Nerdarchy to actually be successful here.
He has been the bad guy several times in games.
He's.
I feel like there's another game I was in where he was the turncoat or the betrayer or something.
I don't think so. I mean,
and in the current Aether Sky thing, he's playing a purifier, right?
He's just a jerk. He's not against the party. Although, things could be manipulated to make it look that way, but no, he's totally just a jerk. He's racist.
I think eventually he's going to kill people in the party, and he's going to feel totally justified and morally good for doing it.
Well, because he's
he's that kind of guy.
He's a human who
he's playing that kind of guy. I should clarify.
Yes. Ty is
awesome, which is why I'm okay with him playing such a nasty character.
He's a human who hates anything but human. And in the party, we have a dwarf, an elf, and two kobolds.
Yeah.
And him.
He's like, I'm stuck. This is a trial. This is a test of my faith.
This is not cool.
Yeah. And, another person, Scott, can play, as far as I'm concerned, Scott can play whatever character he wants, because I know who he is.
Right.
So, okay, so as far as me, I don't, while the antagonist is problematic, I do not like the people who will not let rules go. They just... the worst is when they're wrong and they really believe they're right, and they'll hold it against you for at least this session, possibly even more. And just like every action, you're just like, come on, can we just get over the fact that this was a disagreement about a particular rule, and let's just go with the rest of the game. Got a couple more hours to have fun.
Yeah, well,
so
some people are like that.
So that's my issue, is the person that just will not let rules calls go. Especially because in my game, it's like I'd much rather the story be cooler than wait for 5 minutes while we look up a ruling on something.
Right.
I'd rather say, okay, this is how it's working right now. It might never work like this again, but hey, we're playing with dragons and magic. Does it really matter if it works exactly the same every time? It's very, I don't know, it's very meta to worry about the rules calls more than how the storyline and flow of the game happens. Like,
well,
because time marches on, actions continue, people make choices and choose things, and we do not know all the mysteries of the universe right now, so neither do these people.
Well, some people really get into, you know, role playing games because they care about the actual role playing of it, and you know, the acting for some people. They want to get into another character. Some people really enjoy the crunch and the mechanics, and they want to go in and they want to defeat things. They want to kill stuff. They want to get into the combat of it. There's some people that are, you know, kind of a mix of in the middle, and there's some that literally it's like, well, it's just an escapism. I'm going to go not be Ted, or I'm going to go not be Nate, and I'm going to do this thing because it's fun and enjoyable and whatever have you. And like I said, there can be any mixture of them. I don't even know where I specifically fall because I enjoy all the aspects. Maybe dead center and sometimes shifting a little.
But in the end, one action or one round not going as the rules state out of thousands of rounds and actions.
That's not important.
That's really like shows the relevancy of it. If it's not going to get your character killed, you know, give it up. If it's not going to be like, I can never do this again because my artifact is broken or my magic item is broken because you made a particular rules call.
All of that boils down to
those are all things that you can't really get back.
Right. Does this rules call make a permanent effect on my character?
Yeah, or did you just miss this round?
Right.
Or not kill it in one shot? You know, like those kind of things. Or, okay, you didn't make the ravine jump.
Right.
It was a foot further than you thought.
Anybody else asking questions?
Scratch Paper Games would like to know, are there any games that fizzled that you'd like to return to or reboot?
Many. There's so many characters that like I can recall off the top of my head that I really truly enjoyed playing. One of them I actually forced retired, and we've shared that story before, so I don't even go into that. Probably of old characters, my favorite was my Undead Slayer, Blade Singer from second into third edition. So that's when we actually played it. We started in second edition. When the third edition stuff came out, we followed the conversion rules. You know, he actually had an 1894 strength, and Dave was like, I'm not allowing an elf to have a freaking 22 strength. That's not going to happen. So he's like, you have an 18. And I'm like, well, can I do something with that? And there's all these great stories. If you've been with us for a while and you've heard us, you know, over the many times talk about the Hydra that got turned into stone, that was that character that I was playing, who would have died had Ryan not cast the stone to flesh spell.
Flesh to stone spell?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, he had the scroll. He pulled out flesh to stone, cast it on the Hydra. I think you were
just asked for the reverse. Okay. Got it.
Turned flesh into stone.
Did I just hear that backwards when
Yes.
you said it? All right. Never mind.
You even questioned flesh to stone?
Yeah. So
about
would that
you?
turn a statue into a person? You know, I have started and not finished so many campaigns. It's from, you know, we're talking about
Over 2 decades.
15, 20 years ago. So it's been a while since I have not finished a campaign. I would say that there was a really cool city campaign where I let Ryan play a rogue murderer. He was kind of off the wall. He was the danger character that the players might eventually kill. So I actually had that situation, but he was never working against the party in a sense. He just had his nightly activities that were different than everybody else's. And that's pretty kind of steampunk. I had a salamander from the Elemental Plane of Fire in a copper tower.
I remember that.
Who was a smith, and he also provided a lot of heat and steam for the area. So basically, you got to live in the Copper District, was actually one of the higher districts because it was all the industry, and
Right.
but also all the people that wanted the nice stuff like heated baths and plumbing and steam and all that kind of stuff. So basically, power for the nobility.
So that was a game that you were running.
Yeah, it was a city urban campaign.
Nice.
Yeah, and I like that. And I don't even remember. Sorry, Ted, I don't remember what you were playing in it, and I don't remember what Dave was playing in it. But I remember Ryan's character because he was the problem. He was the problem character that I had to deal with. And then I took a break for a while from D&D, and then I feel like I've DM'd more. I feel like I've DM'd more online in the past, 5 years than I've DM'd in for the group. That's for sure.
Right. Well, maybe we can make that change.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Maybe after the current iterations go, since Dave is doing so much stuff online, maybe Dave takes a step down from the monthly game and you run one.
Yeah, that would be great. And whatever games I end up doing for the pay to play, those are all like long-standing year. They're like I've got them planned out for over a year.
Right.
So
then for me, another character that I would love to get back into would be Balkram, my Bugbear Barbarian. And part of it is because I really loved where that story paused, because it didn't end. Another part of it was literally because the type of game it was so unlike anything that Dave had ever run previously. Anyone who knows Dave knows that he is incredibly stingy with loot and magic items. And this was a game that was played in the heyday of 3rd edition. And I still have the list somewhere, that it is pages and pages long of extraneous loot that no one has laid claim to. And in that pile are, if you remember 3rd edition makeup, magic items and armor could go up to a +5 bonus, and then you could stack on other things to make it be a total of up to +10. So like if you had a fiery burst weapon, that counted as a +2 bonus, and if you was a +2 fiery burst weapon, all right, boom, that's a +4 in total magic item. So it could go all the way up to 10. Well, we had +8s, +9s, +10s in the miscellaneous gear.
yeah, and that was tiered weapons. I don't like how they converted it to pluses. Why converting everything to freaking pluses?
Well,
It had powers that had an equivalent value when you had to calculate how much they were worth.
It was
so like
worth.
fire burst would be worth a certain amount to add to a weapon, and that made the total amount of the weapon's value go up. So if it was a +5 weapon and it was also fire burst, it counted as if it was a tier 8, let's say, weapon, but it was still +5 to damage and +5 to attack. And they converted it all to pluses. So it's like when you're saying +8, I'm just like, +8 sounds like we're playing Hackmaster.
Well, it was done because there were specific rules for purchasing, selling,
Yes.
and creating magic items. So they had to have a statistical equivalent because 3rd edition was very much inclined towards all of that stuff.
And I guess I brought it up because when you're looking at that, it's all very clear. But when you're saying it, it just sounds like, like
Absolutely.
I said, Hackmaster +8 over slowing.
Now, when I had all of this stuff, this was all the stuff that was off of character sheets, and every single character had numerous backup weapons on them. We had every single possible item of storing, be it, the quivers on the Helona, bracelets of storing, bags of holding, and we probably all had multiple bags of holding. Utterly ridiculous. I've never played a game other than that one where the magic items literally fell like rain. But then
+1 sword golem, so you could have made one of those probably.
Oh, absolutely. And we got back to town after finding information out that Dave's brother Jeremy was actually the one who should be sitting on the throne. He should be ruling the city, and the people that were actually there shouldn't be. And like we were coming back to take control, and we were so powerful. We were just on the cusp of becoming epic.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. It was 18th level, but I was a bugbear, so I think I had an ACL of like 2 or 3. I forget exactly what it was, and it was glorious. And
so you were more like a 20th or 21st level character,
right? And we had built up to that. All we had just so many awesome stories revolving around the small adventuring party that was just crushing everything that was in its path.
So you'd like to continue
I'd love to. I mean, that would be just a fantastic story.
fighting gods and dragons?
Well, I mean, literally, even if it was just the one session, let's get in. Let's put him on the throne. Let's cement a power base.
Oh, you didn't get to put him on the throne.
No, we literally stopped with "There's the door to the city." Like that was we were at the crux of it.
Gamer tier.
Like, so yeah, I still have my character sheet in one of my many notebooks. I could find them within the next half hour if push came to shove. I could find that list of magic items that were off character sheet. The value of stuff was just through the freaking roof. There wasn't even, like Dave told us, like we couldn't just walk in and be like, oh, we would like to sell this, because there's just no one to buy those kind of things. We would literally have to be like, well, we're going to retire and open up a magic item shop. We'd have to quest to find like, oh, who wants to buy this +3 vial keen piercing double slice of death? That's literally like one of the type of items we had.
All you had to do is convert to 4th, turn it all into magic dust, and make whatever you wanted to make.
So yeah, long-winded answer for that one as well. Valkyrum and my Undead Slayer. Which I can't remember his name now. Tolbathagonar, that's it. Yeah.
Let's see. X unit.
Well, before we get into that one, I think we've crossed the threshold. So let's get the sound off. Let us know where you're at today.
Well, I saw one from Kuwait all the way in the beginning.
Okay.
So somebody is in Kuwait.
Well, they like to. Sometimes I think that one likes to start off like, "Hey, I'm here." They did that one yesterday too.
All right.
Thursday we did that. We didn't do a sound off on gameplay yesterday. But go ahead with your question, please, sir.
X unit is building a campaign setting for Savage Worlds Borderlands style, which is pretty much Western sci-fi. And he wants to know if you guys have any tips.
I am the wrong person to ask with this one. I don't do much with. I never played the game Borderlands, and I really don't have any big fondness for westerns. But when you're with what I do know about westerns, you typically are going to have lawless areas and things where, hey, sometimes people can be deputized and what have you. So like if you're gonna go with that kind of style, like I would really drive those points home. Make sure that the players are going to be really in for that kind of a game, and decide, all right, are you allowing guns? And if you are, understand that guns really make a big difference in D&D because the damage threshold is so much higher than your typical longsword.
Yeah, I would say give out all the guns you want, but make sure you control the bullets.
That's a good one. It's a good suggestion.
And if anybody wants to be the I would say like the keymaster of that whole thing, blacksmithing bullets, try and have nobody do that. Because it would just be like if you let somebody make magic scrolls, and magic scrolls are awesome, and they're just distributing magic scrolls everywhere that shoot people. So just definitely try and have everybody shy away from actually being a smith of that, and have it be more like an accumulation and management of that be a thing.
And then as far as concept and things, figure out all right, what aspect of a Western game are you really looking for? Are you looking for something that is going to have the option of far more lethality? And should your players be making character trees? Is that something you really want to get into? Also, like you want to seed the world with those ruthless names. Who is your Billy the Kid? Who is fill in NPCs that have reputations that everybody knows. You don't want to mess with that person. And then every once in a while, they need to be there. They could be in the background or they could be in the foreground, and it's like, holy crap, you've just upset the wrong man. Are you going to apologize, or woman? Are you going to apologize, or are you going to wind up dead?
And as when Ted was talking about lawlessness, it's not like a free-for-all in lawless areas, but it does have, there's a whole bunch of people that want to follow some kind of structure, society rules, like not killing people and stealing from each other. And then there's people that don't care about that. And that's kind of, there's nobody to step in front of those people and say, hey, you're not going to do this because I've got this gun. A normal citizenry has to do that. So you kind of get a situation where you have people not, it can devolve into gangs, basically, where if you like have different protection from different groups, and there might be gangs of criminals, but there might also be like a central hub of people that are protective of themselves. So you might have kind of like gang warfare in those areas. There might be like tribal warfare based on like, you know, who's fighting who. Like if you have like some mutants or whatever that don't really have a civilization, there might still be a loose group of them. So that would be another situation. So I guess it depends on how much Borderlands you want to go into, and I'm confusing Borderlands and Fallout because I'm like, they don't have power armor in there, do they?
No.
Yeah, I would go more like as much as do you like, you know.
But I would look at, you know, resource scarcity. That's definitely a thing. You're going to look at, you know, the next town over isn't right there. You're not hopping on your horse and, you know, 5 minutes later you're at the next place. They're spread out, and they're spread out for a reason. So like you can be like, okay, well, I can commit a crime here, and I can, you know, traverse the wastes and get to the next place, and chances are likely that someone from this town isn't necessarily going to go hunt me down unless what I did was that severe. So, you know, really lay out what it is, what kind of campaign you're looking for, what kind of players, are they heroes, anti-heroes, are they full-on villains, you know, what kind of game are you going to run, and you know, have the material prepped for that kind of thing. If you're going to play Wild Wild West style, and you know, these guys are going to go look for vigilante justice. Well, you've got heroes that are willing to, you know, twist the law to their ways, but ultimately they're out to do good. Whereas if you've got more anti-heroes, then you're going to be in the middle.
So it looks like from our roll call, we got Adam Foisey from Kansas City, Eridas, Arizona, Doug from Cleveland, Scratch Paper Games, Wisconsin, Patrick from Sweden. There we go. There's our Sweden. Fraginator, Washington State, Hal Deacon, Maine, Tommy from Lafayette, Louisiana, Jason from Iowa, Sean Doherty from Delco. Lots of other people here trying to find the actual not chats. Fluid Imp, Secaucus, New Jersey.
Oh, New Jersey.
Perry Luckwitz, Wisconsin. Todd Boyce, Dallas, Texas. Nordic Dragon, Dalarna, Sweden.
Nice.
Matt 510 in Wales.
Nice mix.
Always good to hear, you know, how spread out you guys are, and you know, while you're not always interacting with us, because I know how active you guys get in the chat at times, it's pretty amusing, you know, not amusing, but awesome that we have built this, you know, community together. So did we wrangle any other questions out there besides the locations?
Let's see. Fluid Imp wants to know, he's making a campaign, or he wants to make a campaign where his players develop a town and populate it. Do you have any tips on things he might include?
Well, I wouldn't get into the details of populating it. That would take some time.
I would say major thing is give it a little structure. So if there's things that you know you want, and also have some kind of understanding of how big a town has to be before it has certain things. Like a town of 50 people normally doesn't have a blacksmith that's competent making plate mail armor and stuff like that. And if they did, it would probably be because there's some kind of route that knights take. Maybe it's in between two castles, and that's a way station, so they get things repaired, like wagons and siege equipment and all that kind of stuff. So it just makes sense for that person to be there. But if you're going to have, you know, so what's your population? So I would go with that to start, and then you can kind of kind of gauge what you could actually include in it without it being kind of strange.
So my for seriousness, I would ask, like, all right, number one, is this world building and you guys are building it together out of game, or is this something that's like, all right, this is all being handled in game? Are your players into doing this? Do you actually want to take session time around, like, oh, well, who are we asking to come, start this town with? To me, this doesn't sound like the typical thing a normal adventuring party would do. Why is this location, or whatever location that's being picked, why? Like, what is the reason for making the town there? Obviously, you want to figure out the who, and you need to come up with who's going to be in charge. What kind of resources do you need to have? Do you have trade routes? Are there farmers that are going to be, feeding this kind of town? You need to have some kind of tavern or inn for those that are traveling through, because you need to have travelers. It's kind of how things tend to typically work. Like this gets into a lot of the nuances of what people did when they were settling, and if you don't get into all of that, something's gonna get missed, and the town might fall apart. You want to look at, all right, what kind of town guard or security is being looked at. If it's a town, do you have a sheriff and a deputy? Do you have beyond those two for law enforcement? For law enforcement, all of these things need to be figured out if you're going to do something like this. And if everybody's on board, you could have a lot of fun figuring out, okay, who's going to do what, and are the players selecting them from NPCs that they've met on their journeys, or are they going to be filling these roles themselves, and they're going to have to deal with problems and stuff that are happening to the town that they create.
Yeah, thinking about Griffin-Gas is really big.
Yes, Griffin-Gas started off small, but by the time we actually got into the campaign world, I mean, it was much larger than a boomtown at the start of the game, and over the course of the last 3 years of gameplay, it's only gotten bigger and bigger. And now, like the massive wall that's beyond it, that's 20 to 30 foot tall, even has like whole sections that are unsettled because they know that it's growing.
Yeah, and then there's just giant amounts of farmland to the north and other areas, and a lot of trees. There's like a whole. They take up like a small area in the middle, but there's a lot of industry and stuff going on around them, between lumber and farming and all that kind of stuff, and food raising. As the arc that the warders that was a character creation. Was the rangers that would go around and be the warders for the farmers and for the loggers and everything for Griffin-Gas. So the footprint of the entirety of like what Griffin-Gas controls is quite large.
So I would look at it, if you want to get a more simpler view of this, I would look at, okay, what do the players actually want to take care of, and just hand wave the rest. Or, you could literally like, all right, here's the nitty gritty. Here's all the things that you need to have, and just do it. I think that's the easiest way to go about doing this. Look like we have time for like maybe one or two more questions, depending upon how involved we get. So do we have anything else there, Kyle?
Let's see. Doug Vivek would like to know, what celebrity GMs or players would you most like to game with, or what famous person, past or present, if possible?
Well, if we want to stick to people that we know that do D&D, I would obviously love to game with Vin Diesel or Stephen Colbert. I think they would be fantastic. I would never say no to being in a game run by Matt Mercer. But I mean, off the top of my head, those are the big names that I know of that are celebrities. I mean, even Matt Mercer's technically, a minor celebrity in the verse. He's only a celebrity for, those of us that, have this love for the game. But Stephen Colbert,
he does other stuff.
Yeah, well, all right. He's a voice actor for video games, so yeah, people will know him for that as well. But I don't know him because of that.
Okay, so the direction you know him from.
Correct.
I mean, some people only think Stephen Colbert does his Late Show, and that's it. So They don't know any of the other stuff he's done. He's done quite a lot. So In that same instance, it's like, how much do you measure how celebrity somebody is? For me, I'd probably pick someone from history that's not alive anymore. I'd actually probably do world building with Buckminster Fuller. That's my go-to. If you don't know who he is, you should. Not literally, you should. Like you're dumb for not knowing it, but you should learn about him because he's pretty cool.
All right. Anything else? We can do one more. That was a pretty short one.
Let's see.
Well,
Charcore says he has a PC who keeps on killing his characters to switch classes to be the forefront in every arc. His idea is maybe taking him down one level. Normally he doesn't really care about it, but it's getting bad.
He kills his characters off?
It seems like he keeps killing his characters off to switch classes. Say the next arc has to do with undead, he probably kills himself off to become a cleric or paladin. Something that would be optimal.
Okay, well...
Okay. Okay. So that's peculiar, but I understand where he's coming from. He, wants to. But I think optimizing your characters and throwing them away after the plot is done is a little over the top. But maybe he could. We have something online. Scott Garibay wrote called The Vessel. We did a video on it, and I would say at least just keep him one level under, and he could just always switch out the classes and stuff like that. If he's okay with him switching the classes. I just think my standpoint would be that it's a bit ridiculous to have all these characters die and then just jump right back into the story like nothing. Like after 10 people, I would feel like, wow, we're the unlucky party. 10 people have died helping us. I don't think we should take on anybody else.
So there's a couple different things to look at here. Number one, what kind of impact is this actually having on the game? Is it really that big a deal for someone to, all right, well, I want to make a new character? Whether the old character died or wanders off, is it that big a deal? And if you think it is, all right, then address it. As with every GM 911 type of situation we've had, have you talked to them about it? Have you said that this displeases you? If the answer is yes, and the player's like, well, I don't care, well, then he's not caring about your feelings as the DM, and that's a problem. So I would say, if you want to make a harsh penalty for it, you could say, all right, every time you willingly say, I want to end this character, and you either kill him or retire him, you lose a level. And that would repeat. If everyone's 4th level, you kill your character to make someone new, all right, you come in as 3rd. All right, you do it again, everyone's gained a level, they're now 5th, you're going to come in as 3rd. You're doing this kind of thing, you're eventually going to work yourself out of usability. And that could be, it's a pretty harsh penalty. Honestly, I don't care if somebody wants to keep making new characters. I'll throw someone in wherever. However, it's not that big a deal to me. But this player really sounds like they want to or need to be in the spotlight. And if you don't want them to constantly be there, you want the situation to fall to somebody else sometimes, and talking hasn't solved the problem, then there needs to be some kind of harsh penalty to stop him from doing this. Because let's face it, if everyone's 5th, 6th level and you're 1st, 2nd, you can't handle the threats that they're going up against. Yeah, all right, I turn undead. Well, they
don't care.
They don't care because your saving throw is too weak or whatever have you. The proficiency bonus is really built into, and if you're a proficiency bonus behind everybody else, that's going to make a big difference. If you don't have the stat bump and the proficiency bonus to go along with what everybody else has, you're 2 numbers down.
Yeah, hit points and feats and all that kind of stuff that you're back behind them.
So that's just an idea. I honestly wouldn't deal with this. I would design things that, okay, well, for this particular story arc, you want to play this. All right, well, you play that. I'm going to put things in there that are specifically designed to allow the other players at my table to still be able to shine and enjoy the game. Yeah, you might get an extra bonus every now and again because you're choosing the right class, but I don't thematic my events towards a particular thing. So this play style wouldn't really affect me.
Yeah, and then be like, if I'm thinking of this right, you have a whole bunch of a mage tower, and you're going to attack a mage tower. Like, all right, I'm going to be a mage killer. And it's like, well, they've got golems and they've got other nasty things that are not magically oriented. They're just going to smash you. So being a mage killer is great if you see a mage, but have them see a whole bunch of other stuff. Get poisoned by an imp, have some fun.
So it's like, okay, yeah, you've got the in the case of the mage killer, all right, you're going to have things where the guardians are against magic. So you allow the party to shine, bringing down the golems and the guardians. And when you go against the wizard, all right, I'm going to use counterspell under single reaction. That's what I'm going to do. All right, against that battle, you really shine. But the rest of the battles that night, you didn't. You did nothing. You like, I guess, firebolt. I'm saving my spell slots for later.
And a dungeon that has a whole bunch of undead in it can have gelatinous cubes. It can have other creatures that are fungus or plant-based. There can be other things in there that are not undead. So there's times where that person that optimized themselves by making a new character for that segment isn't going, like Ted said, isn't going to shine. And so if you don't have a problem with them switching characters out, I just like, cognitive-wise, I just don't like the idea of shoving somebody new into a story. Oh, introduce this character, or hire this mercenary, or however you got into the plot after the last person just died. And like I joked earlier, but I'm serious. As a player character in that group, I would fear for the next person coming into the group's life if 5 or 10 other people have died. I'd be like, are we cursed? Is there something wrong?
And you do have to look at actually that particular makeup of what kind of effect is that actually having on the rest of the party, like the actual characters, not the players. Players are like, Johnny killed himself again. What do you fucking do? But on the players, it's like, all right, well, it seems like every month or two, we keep losing one of our companions. Let alone whatever happens to the other players if somebody dies as well. It's like, okay, they could have this whole concept of they're cursed and they might not want to hire somebody on, or maybe, all right, well, why is this happening? And they might want to go investigate this kind of thing and go off on a whole other quest and whatever have you. So one last, harsh penalty. And it's like, all right, well, if you want to kill yourself, like by your choice or retire your character, well, you can do so, but then you're out of the game. You can force them to literally say, no, I'm not allowing you to switch characters. You kill yourself, it means you're leaving the group. I wouldn't want to do that either, but it's honestly, if it's that much of an issue, those are some things that you can actually do. So I think we've kind of passed our hour threshold here. So I'd like to give a big shout out to all you awesome fans out there. Thank you for hanging out with us on this awesome Saturday, May afternoon, or well, for some of you, it could be night or morning or whatever, because we're all around the world. So thanks for hanging out with us. And until next time, stay nerdy.